Well, it's a beautiful, brisk late morning here, late fall morning in Texas. It's a little bit chilly out, but not too cold. I would say brisk. Got my long sleeves on here so I can stay warm. And it feels like a beautiful day to talk about how to protect your business from obligations, public obligations specifically. If you are a business owner, any type of business, really, any type of business, any size, any part of your business life cycle, this is going to be helpful. So what I'd love to share with you today are some ideas, kind of exposing these ideas to you, probably they're going to be new to you, about how to protect and defend your business and specifically the assets of the business, the property, whether it's intellectual, real, physical property, whatever it is, funds, accounts, anything related to the operation of your business. Protect and defend from what, you might ask? So that's a good question. So other than just outright theft of one or more of those assets, which obviously is always going to be a threat, I like to think of protection from the three Asians. The three Asians. So taxation, litigation, and regulation. Those are the three Asians. And before we get in too deep, of course, a quick disclaimer. Nothing here that I'm going to share today may be construed as legal or financial advice. I'm not an attorney at law. I'm not a licensed financial professional. So I'm not offering you legal or financial advice. And obviously, if you require that kind of advice, you may want to seek out the services of either an attorney at law or a licensed financial professional. I am, however, going to share with you what I've learned, and I'm going to invite you to go research it and cross-check what I'm sharing with you, and I'll even provide you with ways to do that. So I'll talk about that a little later in the video. Oh, and one other thing I want to point out here, I'm also not advocating any kind of tax evasion or any kind of evasion of any obligation that you or the business may incur. Okay, so please don't misunderstand what I'm saying, and I will clarify what I mean by that. So we are always going to stay in honor. We are always going to stay in honor, and we are going to assent to everything. And we're going to accept any charges or obligations that come to the business. However, we're also going to protect the business from these obligations. So you might be thinking, David, have you fallen over and hit your head? How can you assent to things? How can you accept them and still protect yourself from those things? So my answer would be, great question. Let's discuss that. This is what I love about this stuff, and this is what makes it powerful and mind-blowing and in some ways almost incomprehensible, except to perhaps you and others who are actually ready to learn this. So we call it hidden in plain sight. It's right there in front of everyone, but you can really only see it when you're ready to see it. So the objective, of course, is to protect the business assets from the three Asians. Now, there is an issue that we have to address. We have to address this issue. When you operate a business, whether it's a sole proprietorship, a limited liability company, an LLC, a corporation like a stock corporation, usually called an Inc., a partnership like an LP, or any other state-registered entity or, corporate entity, incorporated entity, there's an issue. The issue is that because it is a state-registered entity, essentially you are operating under permission or under contract with the state. And what that means is the state, being essentially a co-owner of your business, has an automatic security interest in the business and can therefore compel you as the business owner to comply with whatever obligations that business assumes, right? So it's almost like the state is a co-owner of your business. And it also means you can't come along and say, well, my business doesn't have to pay taxes. It doesn't have to, submit to these regulations. It can't be sued. I mean, you can't just declare your business to be exempt from those obligations because it's a state-created entity. It's essentially sanctioned by the state. So the next question is, well, if that's the case, how can I truly protect and defend my business and the assets of the business so they don't get depleted by the three Asians: taxation, litigation, and regulation? Well, the answer is very simple. We want to put together a very advanced asset protection strategy that involves private irrevocable trusts and equity-minded trustees. Private irrevocable trusts and equity-minded trustees. And then once we have that trust system in place with those trustees, anytime obligations come towards the business in regards to the three Asians, the trustees, or even you as the one who's running the business, in collaboration with your trustees, will be able to handle them in equity. So you'll be able to accept and return all of the presentments of the Internal Revenue Service or the tax agency if it's a state agency. You will be able to accept and return all offers and presentments related to regulations. And if your business gets sued, you will be able to accept and return all the presentments of the court, and you or your equity-minded trustees will be able to stand in equity in court in order to accept it, in order to discharge the obligation. Now that sounds like a mouthful, and you're probably thinking, well, Dave, that's great that you say all those words, but that means nothing to me if I don't know how to do that. And you would be correct. So the next point I want to bring up is you would need to learn how this works, right? This is obviously going to be based on your education. It's going to be based on your education. Fortunately, you've got someone on your corner, the Freedom Studio. We are an education organization. We are first and foremost an education organization. We're also a family of companies. So we do obviously provide different types of services to you and to other business owners. But more than anything, we are education based. And so my main objective as the managing director of the Freedom Studio is to empower you with knowledge. Okay, that's how we've rolled from day one. That's why I keep showing up on these videos and sharing knowledge with you and giving you insights. However, in order to learn how to operate with private trusts and how to hire equity-minded trustees, or even be an equity-minded trustee yourself, it's going to take more than just watching one video. Okay, so that brings me to the next point. How would you actually learn all of this? Well, there are relatively few organizations in the world who are going to teach you this at a very high level. So we're one of them. And we've actually partnered with another organization called Standing on the Rock. And Standing on the Rock specifically teaches you how to bring equity to discharge public obligations. And they also teach you how to set up equity trust systems. Basically trusts, private trusts that are based in equity, which is a legal jurisdiction. So your first step to learning this is to come to a 2-part free live workshop on Zoom. It's coming up really fast. So that's why I'm jumping on here to do this video as soon as I can, because the first part is coming up quickly. Part 1 is going to be on December 20th, 2025 at 1 o'clock Eastern for about 2 hours on Zoom. And check this out, for the first time ever, we're going to simulcast the entire workshop live on at least 4 social media platforms. So that's YouTube, Rumble, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So even if you can't join us live on Zoom, you can still watch the simulcast or even the replay. So the first part will be on December 20th. The second part will be on January 3rd, which is also a Saturday, also at 1 o'clock Eastern for about 2 hours. Why would you want to come to these workshops? Well, again, if you're a business owner and you have valuable assets and you want to learn how to protect them from the three Asians while staying in honor and not disputing anything, not trying to evade anything, not trying to get out of an obligation, which sounds almost too good to be true, I know. Is it worth an hour or two of your time to come check it out and see what we're actually talking about? One of the benefits of coming to the workshop is, in addition to providing you with a high-level explanation of how it all works and getting into some detail, we're also going to share success stories. We're going to share success stories about discharging taxes, unsecured debts, mortgages, court cases, both civil and criminal. So both civil and criminal court cases being discharged, fully discharged. So going down to zero. So think about it. If it's a criminal case, think about 42-year sentence, maybe down to probation, all the way down to time served, time considered served. So there is no need to sit in a prison. Okay, it's fully discharged. And those of you who follow my work, or you may just know this from your own study, all crime is commercial. Of course, I'm not talking about cases where somebody has objectively harmed someone else. Murder, assault, things like that. I'm talking about purely commercial crimes, of which there are many. So this is pretty compelling stuff. And I would think, this is just me, but I would think that it would be worth coming to a workshop to hear what's possible. I mean, is anyone else offering you viable solutions out there? Have you up until this point, have you been presented with a strategy that you feel can actually help you in this regard? If you're watching this video, probably not. Or maybe you've tried some things, or maybe it just never occurred to you. But I want to invite you to come to this workshop because we're going to get into it. So like I said, we're going to provide you some instruction, some presentation about equity, how to bring equity to the courts, both in and out of the courts, actually, because it's not only in the courts. How to set up your private trust system, how to hire equity-minded trustees, and how to put it all together. Now, even in a two-part workshop, 2 hours each workshop, it's still not going to be enough to learn the entire strategy. So during the workshop, we're going to provide you with a path forward about what it would take to actually learn. And I'll give you a hint. This is pretty advanced material, so you'd essentially be committing yourself to about 12 to 14 weeks per concept. So for equity, 12 to 14 weeks, and then for the trust side, about 12 weeks as well. So it's almost like going back to graduate school. I mean, this is really advanced stuff, but it's also a life skill. Okay, so if you've gone to college or university, or if you've gone back and learned an additional trade, maybe you went back to a professional school, or you've taken some kind of professional training, you know that it takes a commitment of time and study to learn something more advanced so that you can then put it into practice. A lot of people go back and get licenses or certifications. A lot of people work in coaching and consulting. They go back and get licenses and certifications for that, or project management. So it should be pretty obvious that whatever you want to learn in life, when it's more advanced, you're going to have to invest time, energy, and resources into it. So why would this be any different? The only question is this a worthwhile investment? Is it a worthwhile use of your time and resources and attention? I would say it is. And we are very enthusiastic about this at the Freedom Studio. We have been for some time. So I would think it's worth it. But really, you have to decide for yourself if it's worth it. So what's on offer is essentially my desire to essentially help you protect and defend the value that you're creating, specifically through your business. It could also just be for your family, because this applies to families as well. So it could be both, especially if you have a family-owned business. That would be a great way to combine the two. But if you're creating value in the world, chances are you're going to want to learn how to protect and defend it. That's very important, right? Going back to objective morality. So morality being three things: being responsible for your actions and their consequences, not harming others or injuring them or their property or damaging property or taking things that don't belong to you, not stealing, basically. And then, of course, defending yourself and your assets and your property. So that third one's very important, and that's a big part of what we teach at the Freedom Studio. We translate self-defense commercially into something very viable and practical. So all that being said, my only question to you at this point is it worth a couple of hours of your time to explore this and vet it? You may determine in the end, hey, this is not something I want to pursue. And that's totally cool. I would never pretend to take away your right of choice and your right to decide. I'm just putting something on offer, putting it in front of you and saying, hey, is this worth checking out? If it is, we would love to have you with us at the workshop. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very powerful. It's going to be very insightful. And it's free to attend the workshop, 2-part workshop. So how do you attend? You just want to go to equityworkshop.thefreedomstudio.org, and I'll also share the link somewhere below this video. If you want to explore anything else that we offer with the Freedom Studio, you can just go to thefreedom.studio. That has pretty much everything that we have on offer, all of our education, all of our services, all our communities. And hey, it would be great to have you involved. If nothing else, your participation will hook you in and tap you into this great community that we've been building over the last almost 2 years. And you're probably going to make some great connections and have some great insights. So from that perspective, it's probably going to be worth it. And I would love to have you with us. So I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully that's enticing enough for you to at least decide if you want to join. If you do, it will be great to see you there. And of course, I'll see you very soon. Take care.